Ooh,
All right, we're recording.
thank you, Sam. Welcome, everyone, to Communitas Working Group Poll. Good afternoon, good morning, good night, depending on where you are. It's nice to see you here. And we are recording, by the way. So I want to start this week call with a little bit of sharing. And I placed a question in the agenda. What is the most meaningful piece that you have come across past month, past week, past day, past whatever? Meaningful piece could be something that in crypto, could be non-crypto related, could be something that impacts you, could be something that you think is worth sharing. But what was the most meaningful piece that you came across and that you think people should take a look at? I proposed this question, and even myself didn't think about was I going to propose. So there you go. Um, there are two things. I will start. There's two things. The first one is a song by a Mexican singer, and she made the song about what happened if one of them get killed, like woman femicide. But it's a beautiful song, even though it sounds like that. And the video is recorded on a one-on-one session, like she is singing to another woman face to face. And at the end of the video, all the women are end up crying, and it's such a meaningful for me visually. It was such a meaningful thing. And then the second thing, which I will apply to my ego today, is that I was part of One Hive TV today, and we did a live stream and we shared news about the Dallas space, and it was meaningful for me because there were people there. It was my first collaboration with One Hive. So yeah, just interesting to learn about it now. So that's on my side, and I will pass it on to LB that I think they may have something to share.
Yeah, I've recently finished this book called The Scout Mindset. And it's about why some people see things clearly and others don't. It's really about like learning how to address your own biases, learning how to like double check your assumptions. It's really, really powerful. It's like really healthy rationalism. And I think that just like everybody could read this book and like really get something out of it. So highly recommend.
Will you maybe sharing the link on the coffee channel before you pass it on?
Yeah, sure. And I'll pass it to Gideon.
Thanks, Albie. Mine, I just found today this, a friend of mine forwarded this to me. It's an interview with a guy who I'd never heard of before. His name is Peter Hershock. And he's a Buddhist scholar who studies AI and technology. And he was talking about what lessons Buddhism has for the kind of the way that we think about technologies, and particularly AI. And I'll spare you all the details, but the thing that I thought was really interesting is he was talking about how in the Buddhist mind view or the worldview, it's the world is fundamentally relational. And he was talking about how the way that we see technology is kind of the opposite of that. It's very objective and isolated. And that's kind of the root, he sees that as kind of the root cause of the alienation and the separation, kind of the way that we've allowed ourselves to be controlled by technology. It's a beautiful talk, actually. He's a very interesting guy. So that was mine. I will pass on to, let's say, Nate.
Thanks, Gideon. So what's the most meaningful piece? I think I'm gonna have to go with a book like LBS. I just finished rereading Radical Markets, and I don't know why, but that book just it just gets your imagination going, and like out of everything, it just kind of inspires you to think differently about the systems that we live in and how to so it's just kind of one of those things. Major props to Glenn Weil and Posner for writing that. And I think that's a really amazing book. But yeah, so that's kind of where my mind's at right now, kind of in that imaginative space. I will pass it on to Durgadas.
So, is there a second what thing we read recently?
It sounds like, but not.
Okay, I was sure.
Not quite. Basically, the question is, what's the most meaningful piece of article, YouTube video, something that you think is worth sharing that had an impact on you in the past month or the past week or the past day? I can give you some time to think, and then I will pass it on to Tam.
No, yeah, I go ahead. I'll collect my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm finding this question hard because there's probably something I have that's a lot better than this, but the more recent one I read sort of sticks out, and it's almost like not interesting enough to share, but for whatever reason, it's like stuck in my mind, so I'm going to share it. It was an article in the New Yorker, and it's about a classics professor at Bennington who has been journaling for 80 years. So he has an 80-year-old journal, and the Getty Institute recently purchased like 50 years of this archive, and it's not that interesting, except that it's interesting because it's like it's one of the only existences of like the minutia of a human life, an extraordinary detail, totally mundane and boring in many parts, but that's like that. The idea, he was friends with Anais Nin, and so like this idea of like these people who write their diaries and then publish their diaries, and like this idea of like, I know that she has revised some of her diaries before publishing, and he's like, no, it's sacrosanct, it's the raw form, it's like with all the flaws and all the errors and so it's just this really strange, bizarre human that had existed and had done this strange, cool, bizarre thing. And I don't know, there's something about it that I'm still picking apart in my mind, this idea of, it's a new art form, really. Journaling is a kind of art form, and now that you can take 80 years of human life and digitize it and search it and categorize it and do all these interesting things with it, it's kind of, I guess, I don't know, it's just bizarre and it's stuck with me. It's a really nice article, and I'll pass to Vivi.
Vi, are you there? If you are speaking, you are.
Oh wait. I thought Tam passed to Ivy. So something meaningful that I read this month. Let me think about that. I'd say there's this book I've been reading, Algorithms to Live By. It's really interesting. It's almost like it almost feels like it's answering life's greatest questions. There's this one excerpt from it that is like how much you should wait before making certain decisions, like buying a house. And it's like there's this like spend 37% of the time you wanted to allocate it to view houses and then take your decision. And there's like many little things like this that have been shared in the book that seems very interesting to me. I don't know, that's the thing that's coming to my mind right now.
It's perfect. And the same goes for Tam and Vi. Share the link to the new article or to what you just shared on the coffee channel, so we can all take a look at it. Yes, you guys. Goes to you now.
Yeah, I had a really significant encounter with a PDF which I could share. It's called Abysmal Leadership Theory, and it's like leadership at the end of the world. What happens if like is illustrated in this thing of like the Crow, where we're basically being victims of colonization, and and basically there were two approaches. These people they'd been at war with for thousands of years, that they fought against the colonizer, and then their other side, where the guy who's the leader of this thing took a more conciliatory approach, where their old enemies that they've been fighting against literally defined everything of what it meant to be a crow. And so when when these people were completely destroyed, they had no cultural references whatsoever with which to define themselves. And so and so it's just they make a really interesting point about what it's like to be a leader at the time now, where everything seems so biblical. Like right now, my regular work is completely flooded. Like 40K from here. The river is completely overflowing. I mean, everywhere in the world now, it's just biblical out there. And so, what happens when all the stuff that we've all grown up with, this whole technical thing, all goes away, and all of the references that we've used to define ourselves are gone. And it's really interesting in terms of I like looking at things like that. There's actually even a thing in these little cards that I got from these folks. It's called Triz, and it's like, how is it that we can produce the worst possible outcome for ourselves? And it's an interesting question, right? To examine what it is like to see the worst possible outcome, and what does it do in terms of creating clarity for you. And it was so profoundly impactful for me personally, and for my work with Native people and all of this, that it was just astounding. And I had to actually go out and sit for a long time, really consider the implications of it. And so in the last month, this maybe is the single biggest impact on me. Maybe one of the biggest ever, actually, that I've ever of anything I've ever read.
Thank you for that. This question comes from a place of understanding how we can give space to another kind of conversations in community building, and how we can connect, not necessarily by our work, but also by the things we share in common and the interest that we can sort of align with each other. So this is something I would like to eventually see how we can take out from a call and do it in Discord, do it in the forum, or do whatever we want. And so these little exercises I will keep trying to keep happening every call, so we can sort of find a click with this, not questions, but with these exercises. So shall we jump into the agenda? And I think I will pass the word to Tam, because the springboard is your domain. So you wanna?
It's all our domain. That was a really nice exercise. I mean, I think one of the things that we can do is just model that by sharing it in the cafe. Here's something I read that was really, you know what I mean? Like to start dropping that in the cafe. I think that's a good way to get other people to share what they've, now I regret, I was like, this one for my article, where I could have said something a little more meaningful about it. But I think that's a nice thing to do, actually. I really enjoy that. I'm going to try to read that tonight, Durgadas, if you drop it in the channel.
It's in Communitas now.
Okay, cool. All right, so so I tried to organize the sprint board a little bit just to see if we could get some here's the one that we want to go to, just to get some ideas around sort of our timings for when we're actually going to be deploying things. And the one thing, there's a few things. Dubai and I didn't have a chance to sync yet, so I guess we'll do it here. Just a quick question around the new survey on the old bot. Is that something that we think can happen this week?
It certainly can.
Okay, cool.
It should have happened last week, but I got carried away in the weekend due to homework. So, it would happen this week.
Okay, cool. And
maybe even during this call.
Oh wow, that would be cool. I mean, it's important to have our weekends for the other things that we need to do too. But I just wanted to know if there was any blockers. Maybe you ran into a challenge when you were doing it, which can also happen. And then there's the okay, so it's the new Discord channels. All right, hold on. We'll go through. Maybe we'll just go through them one by one. So MS is in here, but I know that he and his team are working on the accessibility requirements for the web. In fact, his company is a company that specializes in it, so we're extra lucky to have him working on that. Training guide for new guides. I don't know how much thought you've had to put into this, Eduardo, yet, but is this something that we think will be able to deliver this sprint?
Yes.
Okay, and then we can maybe recruit some new guides. Do you have people in mind who you'd think would like to help out with that role?
Yes, and I think there is besides people who have been done that has been doing that passively, like Jean and so on. I think I will try. I had a conversation with them, and I will try to bring them again to the loop because, and I will say this out loud and publicly. I felt that at some point, Aloysius was doing the work that no one else was doing, like sort of guiding new people in this transition that we had in between orientation and the Communitas working group creation. And at the same time, I felt they were not acknowledged properly. So plus personal situations. So I think it could be interesting to see how we can bring them again to the loop. Because it seems that effortlessly and spontaneously it came to them to do it. So I think it's part of their nature, and it could be nice to sort of bring them back to that loop. So,
Yeah, and I don't think, and that's what I think is most important, that this isn't just one person doing it. You know, there's like 5 guides, and we just, you know, if somebody needs to take a few days away, there's 4 other people that can pick that up. I mean, I think that's why it's so important to be distributed, so it's not sort of, you know,
centralized.
yeah. And then we should give this role a nice name and make sure the role is on the Discord server so people know who to look for if they have questions.
Yeah, and I think also Drugar has mentioned in the last call that to the people who were interested in the cultural part, you were also interested, Drugaras, and sort of talking to them. So that could be also interesting to try it out if you're still willing to.
Yeah.
Say that one more time. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying that I'm still willing to. You know, for me, the whole thing here is about the culture, right? I'm generally clueless about many of the technical things that are going on, and so I'm here for the individual people, and then how the individual people connect and interact, and deal with each other, and yeah, so that's my particular thing, and I think it's often an almost unstated thing. I do find that we tend to almost take the cultural part of our thing for granted, and it's the only reason why I'm here. So that's why I'm wanting to be volunteering for maintaining that among whoever's really interested in that part of it.
Okay, so what can that look like? Like maybe we have a guide kickoff session, and we have Eduardo, your guide for the guides, and Durgadas, and we could sort of have does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it could be nice to sort of bring the potential guides to the next orientation call, and then from that point on, build this process. Like just receive feedback, incorporate it, and then sort of build the rest of the guide process. So I think it could be nice also to understand which part of the guides everyone or they will be more interested on being focused on. Like for example, Dugaras on the cultural part. So if there is someone in addition that comes from token economics and something very specific, like for something very technical, then I immediately can know to who related to. So yeah, or if someone comes from the creative side, I already know that Shui goes for the creative part. So it's interesting to also have this, and we don't have anyone for the cultural part actually. So yeah.
I wonder if we're talking
also.
about the same role as a guide. The way that I was envisioning it was very similar to what LB described as like the welcomer. And it's just not necessarily the people that becomes like a one-on-one buddy, which would be a different kind of role, but it would be the person who responds to the basically like hand holding people in our Discord server, and helping guide people in the direction that they want to go in, but not necessarily like going deep into something. That would be like Durgadas's role would be more like the subject matter expert in this, frankly, and it'd be like we could guide someone to a subject matter expert on a topic, but the guide is actually just like, oh, you're looking for this, so that there's no questions on our Discord. It's the work you're doing, like that you're doing excellently. But it is it's one person doing it, and we could distribute it and sort of train other people to do that as well, so that we have more people doing it.
Yeah, I have the same. Yeah, sorry. Go
Can I
ahead.
make a suggestion? It seems like the gravitons who have gone through the training up to now are inherently interested in the culture. I mean, and they've sat through a bunch of the cultural aspects of what's going on, and so that might be an excellent sort of cohort to start with in terms of trying to find people who might be interested in that.
Yeah, and I actually believe that there is no. I don't know. I see so many people on the Graviton call, and I don't know if we have like sort of a way to connect. Like if we do an effort to connect these people after the call or before the call with the rest of the community. But yeah, so that's something that is interesting to think if no one else has think about it. Anyways, guys, yes, I had the same thought that you had, Tim. Welcomers. The idea of the orientation or the focused welcomer, let's say in a way, is just keep, since we have already data from orientation data, so the ones that are already placed, they already know what they are coming for. We can just keep the intermediary and immediately match them with someone who welcomes them in a very specific manner. Not for the general ones, not for, but for those specifically that already stated what they want.
Cool, good. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll come out once we just start drafting all of that. I think all of that will surface and come out and become very clear. All right, cool. Funding proposal, yeah. Yeah, I think that, so the goal is for all stewards to post their funding proposal on the forum for advice process this sprint. So I think maybe Eduardo and I will have one more revision over this and put in the roles that we know, like the guides. I think we're calling them guides in here. That's great. And then really just have a lot of the community in the forum try to collect the wisdom of the crowd and see how we can improve it before it's time to. So I'm gonna actually just make this like post it on the forum, and this target will be.
I just wanted to welcome Lily to the call. We are going through the springboard, just for you to have a little bit of context.
Thank you. There's two things I would like to talk about if there's space in the end of the call.
Sure. Can you tell me which of them are?
Yeah, one of them is I was talking to Caesar, who joined recently, and he was very keen to look for something to collaborate with, and he reached out to me, and I thought that starting a survey for the community call would be a great start, like something that he could do straight away, and it's something very impactful for us actually. So he did it. He was so quick with it, and he created some questions. I told him to post in this chat, but I don't know if he got here yet. So I wanted to just maybe like share and ask you guys to give feedback. I think he would be happy about it and feel motivated, and then we can move forward with that.
Great, that's fantastic.
And the yeah, super cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing was just some feedback on the decision-making visuals, because I know like you folks have been thinking a lot about how to make things easy for people that are joining, and we have we're mostly done with it. So it would be cool to have some feedback.
Thank you, Libby. I added to the agenda. Sorry, Tam, going back to you.
No problem. I also dropped the agenda in Communitas, so you could add the links to the agenda, since I think both of those are visuals.
Thanks.
All right, so let's keep going down. The onboarding, so messaging the community that the channels will move around. I think that's something we can do when we have the final date. This is something that Vi and I worked on. It's the, we had to change some of the content here, and then we sort of laid it out to have more layers. A lot of it we just kept from that original document. So welcome to the TEC Guidebot. And then this would be the first layer. What is the TEC? Then the second layer would be, or I guess this is the third layer, what is token engineering? What is a commons, or mission, vision, value? And I think other than, I'm so glad you're here, Olivia. I think we want to change the wording for what is praise. And it's not something we tackled yet. And then create wording for how to make a proposal and how to use a Discord server. And then I think this bot might be ready to deploy. But I would definitely welcome people jumping in and having a look. It is we can even take out how to make a proposal and how to use the Discord, to be honest. Although I think it's worth keeping in the first version. We can build so much more from here. This is just to get it out, to start to see where the cracks are. This is too much content. This is not enough content. This title is too long. Just to get it actually, functional now. And then I just think there's so much more we can build from here. But this would be just like the MVP version of it. And Olivia, maybe I'll ask you in that here. I'll just copy and paste this in here. I feel like
I agree with the update to the praise. Because I copy and pasted that from the Gitbook, and I felt that it's not and it doesn't show the enthusiasms and the goodwill and the good practice that is the praise. I think that should be rephrased in a more embracing way, if it's possible, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's outdated for sure, and we'll have to explain the whole thing now, not only praise but also source cred and stuff, and then it might be useful to link that rules for praise forum post too.
Yeah, very good point. That's probably the best one. Okay, so I think once that's done, Vi will be able to populate the content of the guide. Vi, do you want to give any update on the guide?
If you are talking about, you are muted.
Okay, we'll keep going then.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So the only concern right now is I personally would like that content on there to be changeable so that other people can change it. It's not just me, so some people changing it. Anyone in our community or who is managing it could change it. That's why I'm looking for formats that are easy to use. And I'm not a very good judge of this is what the format I think can be a good option. I'll just drop something in that's like a write-up on that. And a second.
I'm not sure. I understood that you're looking for the right format with which the guide bot can then be updated by anyone else in the TEC. Oh, then you disappeared.
He is having problems with his connection. He wrote me a message about it.
Yeah, he mentioned it's he's trying to figure out how to whether it's just a file that's you check out of GitHub and check back in and merge it in order to update the guide bot.
Yeah, so we don't create a bottleneck. Only him being able to edit stuff.
Yeah, which is sort of what happened with the call announcement. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll keep going until he returns. Actually, a lot of the rest is Vi. So out of our retrospective came the Twitter feed on our Discord, which I think makes sense. Might have even been something that was in your original audit, Gideon. And then for Vi to actually deploy all of this, hopefully next week. The onboarding flowchart, I think you can give a better update about this, Eduardo, than I can. I think this is the graphics that you referred to in the next agenda item.
Yes. So Vi is back. So do you want to finish Vi and then we go back to the graphic?
Yeah, sure. The guide bot.
Or not?
Yeah.
So the graphics, Durga is here present, and as the laser is feeling sick, so he excused himself from today's call. We talked a little bit. He made just the skeleton graphically of that. He shared with Dugaras and me. But yeah, I will pass it on to Dugaras to. He had some actual questions and request feedback from certain aspects. So.
Okay, so let me just share my screen here and then I'll move things over. So the sort of basic look of it is this, but that's about as basic as it could be. You know what I mean? Like it's basically the same as the previous thing we were talking about, except one thing. And I did one big thing that did happen though is I gave him access to I have a subscription to elements.envato.com, so he'd been using other things to do graphics. So I said, hey, just look on Elements, and I can download an unlimited number of things from there. So I also gave him access on my Dropbox to about 21 or 22 gigs of existing stock things. So he can use those to improve the graphics. So from that, we collaborated and figured out. So we kind of took this and he created this. And so basically it's the meeting that we had was kind of talking about how to just based on whoever made this, I can't remember. It was that you, LBS? Oh, good. Thanks for that. So we pretty much kind of added to it in the sense that the newcomer's journey was kind of this first part that she was talking about, but I did want to kind of have other things in here to close the loop in terms of what the rest of the graphic was doing. So once we get the onboarding thing going on, I also just find it's incredibly important that we, when we're onboarding people, we're onboarding them to the point where we get them to the advocacy role. Do you know what I mean? So in some way, just the participation in and of itself is not enough, right? So the actual goal of onboarding should be driving it through to the point of advocacy. So I kind of added these additional aspects, and I think we just ran out of time in terms of like what else to add at the bottom of this. But you can see that right now it's really just set up like this. And I think what we're going to then do is add some additional aspects to this in terms of what are the technical ways in which we interact with people, in the sense that okay, you're on the forum or you're on the Discord or you're on the whatever that is. And so so yeah, that's going to be the next meeting, so that we can kind of make that all, and we'll probably take some of these, do you know what I mean? But then the other part was just to I was trying to talk about how we need to make sure that we don't forget about things like informed consent and other aspects, right? Because these interactions are a participatory model as well. So I want to, in the next thing, sort of add some of the aspects of expectation setting and safety and what's alive in us and engagement and so on, and try to put these colors in there as well to make sure that people know that there's perhaps see, it's my view that even though if you look at the way the Token Engineering Commons is set up on the website, where it basically talks like from a systems thinking perspective, I actually think we're doing quite a lot more than that. That's why I advocate for the culture. So it's the systems plus people adds to complexity thinking right off the bat, right? So if the systems that we're creating are a result of that complexity, then we're down into this connection thing that I'm often talking about, where I'll just bring it up just to sort of talk about it. I think that a lot of what we're doing is down here, but then when we talk about the Token Engineering Commons, we're almost always talking about the complicated portions of what we do. And so I think that anytime you add complicated plus culture, you're going to end up in a more complex way of doing things. So I'm going to add some of the nuance of this into this graphic eventually, but right now it's just really kind of a raw situation like you can see here. So that's where we got to. Thank you.
I think sometimes I'm amazed of how little is the audience for this conversation, like the audience that we are here right now. Because I feel sometimes we click on things and we are not aware of how good we click on things. And what you just explained, I asked before to Dulgaras on chat private, like, hey, do you have a look at this before putting it on the agenda? And he was like, no, we haven't advanced that much. And then I see this judgment, like, you do have advanced, and you do have, a point for everyone to be aware. So,
well, from my perspective, I feel like I'm repeating myself all the time. Like connection and complexity and this and that and the other thing, and everybody in this thing probably heard me say it a million times. So I often feel like maybe I have to take that side of it for granted. But
no, don't think that. So yeah, but yeah, I think that was a bit for the issue.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. It's really nice to see how that's developing. It's cool. And then I see that.
Also, I did want to solicit some feedback in terms of that, for this from this group. So, I know this isn't technically a working group necessarily, but, perhaps LBS, you can show up in the next meeting with me and Acid Laser and whoever else wants to come and contribute, to this onboarding journey, So we'd love to have you. Last time it was just us, and we're like, okay, let's deal with the visual. Let's, give a, some kind of vision for the whole thing. But yeah, I think now that we have that, putting whatever details in that we can, it'd be beautiful.
Yeah, I'd be down to jump in. I've been doing a good job of keeping my overwhelm low, so I'm not like spinning into anxiety or depression. So I could probably handle like a working session if you just send me a little DM. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. I was hoping that'd be sometime this week, but it seems like everyone wants to do everything on Tuesdays, and my Tuesdays are filling up pretty hard. So yeah, so we'll see what we can do, but thank you.
Cool. And I see that Vai, to jump back to the GuideBot, posted the YAML format on our Communitas channel. I guess the question is, Vi, what would be the mechanism to update that file?
So right now my thought is that I write data in everything's written in that file. It's almost like normal text, headings followed by text, headings followed by text. It's just loosely structured, and then I pick up all the data over there and programmatically like make buttons out of that. That is something that can be done.
And the file lives in a GitHub repository?
Yeah, it would be on GitHub. So that's so I'm really thinking is like YAML something that is looking friendly to people that are in this room. If it is, then I think it's a good sign that maybe I should use it.
I think it's fine. I think, to be honest, this GuideBot will be updated infrequently. So I wouldn't expect us to need to do a lot of modifications to it. Just some, thinking around different versions and then deploying a new version of it. I'd say keep going with it, unless there's somebody who knows another technical solution that would be more update friendly.
I just want to come across to welcome Mensch to the community working
Hey, Mensch.
I shared you the agenda on your private messages for you to take a look at. And we are going through our GitHub and through our issues on GitHub. And time here is leading the conversations.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I thought I'd check in again. It's been so long, but I mean, it's been distributed. Everybody keeps popping up on my radar here and there. With some of you, I communicate directly, like Irigis at Durgidas, and some others. I was in Berlin also with Angela's introduction to token engineering, like a couple of weeks ago. So, not been completely out of the loop, but it feels like it. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I think I was sick for 2 days last week, and I was like, there's so much that happened while I was gone. Like, that was 2 days.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. So then I just want to go back to the guidebot. So if that is decided and that's accepted, Vi, is there anything else that you need in terms of information to help you move forward with the guidebot? Anything else that's blocking?
Once we're done with the data we want to put on there, we can have the whole thing deployed. But right now, I think what we have, I can take that and make the buttons with those.
Yeah, I would say if you take it without the 3 that aren't finished yet, which was the praise, which needs an update, the how to submit a proposal, and how to use our Discord. Welcome, Aloysius.
Hello, Aloysius. Welcome to the call. Nice to see you here.
Okay. And, Royal Jelly, he has space for you. So you just need to send him your SSH key.
Yeah, that's done, and yeah, I'm gonna be deploying all the things to that instance.
Hey, I have a quick question. So the changes to the Discord server that came out of the audit, I'm guessing that what makes the most sense is to wait until the bot changes that ViViV is making are done and have those go live and then make the changes to the server after that? Or how should we time that? And ViViV, is that something that do you need some help with that, or like I don't even know how we would go about doing that?
So there is Tam brought this to my attention last week. There is help needed in something very basic that we just skipped, which is like subtitles or description for the channels, for like what's going on that channel. And we need to do that for most of the channels that need description. And I don't think the bot will affect the change on the Discord disposition. So we can do that without interfering in Vi's work.
So Vi and I wrote out the next steps, but Vi, where did we put it? What issue did we put that in? Because I'm not seeing it now.
I don't remember.
All right, we'll find it. But I think it's a great question, Gideon. In fact, we went through like what this would look like step by step, and I think, Vi, what did we come up with? That the next thing is to deploy. So first the old survey, the survey on the old bot, and then it's the bot and the guide are tied together. So then we would deploy that on the Discord server and then change the channels. Is that correct?
Yeah. And before we change the channel, we'd want to tell people that things are changing.
Yes. So my suggestion is as soon as we have, for example, we know that next Monday we will have it deployed, then I will make sure that this week we make this announcement to everyone. And actually, we can make a party to welcome the new TC Discord.
In which case, the other item on the agenda makes sense, which is would you like to present it on the community call? Do you think it'd be ready to present, hey, this is a change that's going to happen next week? it's the guide bot, it's the survey, and it's the new channel arrangement, and we could share the TEC staging site.
Yeah, I talked to MS, and he said that he would be ready for this community call to present it, and also if LB, if you are in this position and capacities to be part of the community call, to just, I don't know, I want to acknowledge everyone's work in this part. I don't want to talk about it. It's you people work. So Gideon's Tam, Gideon, and Bai also. So if you guys want to join the community call, it will be helpful and really nice to for you to present what you guys have done.
Okay, maybe we could be more specific about who's presenting what then, because
Yeah.
it sounds like that's going to be a big cluster mess on a community call.
Yeah.
Maybe we can organize beforehand.
Yes.
I
will. Don't worry.
I don't know. MS can certainly share the journey he went through. I think it makes sense for Vi to present the survey and the guide. I guess that makes sense.
Yes, I think I was thinking on in my mind, and this could be completely changed, but in my mind, I thought about MS just giving the big picture of this kind of day zero approach that he had, and then LBS presenting their approach on the personas and this human aspect that they brought to this part, and then Vi finally presenting the bots. That was what I thought. It could be changed. It could be put in a different way. I thought it was the easiest way to structure it, to be bigger and then granular to the two things that are part of this onboarding journey: the human aspects and the bot.
What are the personas? What is that presentation of? The document and the...
Yeah, it's this document where they explore the different personas of the journey. For example, the pronoun conversation that we had, this first diagram that they sort of work on. So is this, I don't know how to present there. Sorry, I'm really tired today.
All right.
Yeah,
let's go for it. I think that some things, so usually the call is like when things are ready, and it seems like that one is more in progress. I don't know, what are your thoughts about that, LBS? Does it feel like it's a completed thing to share on the community call, or would you like to share the sort of update and your thinking along where you're taking it?
It's kind of its own little, like, the newcomer personas, it still has some, like, filling out that could be done. It feels kind of in progress, but it also, I can see how it was, like, an important kind of, like, stepping stone into where we've ended up. And I have never presented on a community call before. I'm not exactly sure what the expectations are there. So, I'll kind of follow your lead, and I can always just kind of, like, talk about a thing that I've done. But I also don't feel like I need to do that. I'm happy to be just like represented via like somebody talking about the fact that I did some stuff or being praised. Great to get recognition.
Cool. And Gideon, are you interested in the server Discord channels reconfiguration?
I think that one is pretty simple. Like, I don't think that there needs to be a big explanation for it. Like, I think it's just, we can say that this is what's happening, or somebody can say, I'm happy to do it too, but I'm also kind of leery of having too many people up there doing too many little micro things. There's a lot of handoffs. So I think we can have somebody else just, talk about that. But happy to do it if nobody wants to.
Yeah, I think that can work too. Okay, cool. I think we're done with this part, with the sprint, the issues this sprint. So maybe I pass back to you, Eduardo, to do the rest of the agenda, and hopefully we have a few more minutes to address the ones that Livia raised.
Sure. Yeah, we already did the updates on the graphics. I was referring to do that as an laser. It had a question mark because by the time I put this in the agenda, I didn't have a reply yet. Now everything has been answered, so there is no need to talk about that further. And then the update on members life cycle. this is something we talk about MS, and he was interested on what you mentioned time the last call, to just have a bigger kind of what are they one day, what week one, month one, 6 month one, whatever you want to call it. So he was going to do the same kind of scheme that he did for day one, and yeah, but he's not today here, so we are not gonna talk about it. But yeah, so he has that on his mind. Um, so that's on that end, and then we just pass it on to the survey for community call that Lily mentioned. I think we have 10 minutes, we have 8 minutes. It's at least we can cover the survey.
So thank you. Let me share my screen.
Can I just ask one thing? It might be helpful in terms of onboarding. I did a graphic for my virtuous cycles work that was talking about sort of the overwhelm versus underwhelm problem, like the autism versus ADHD thing. And I never really completed it, so I also think it might be kind of useful in terms of if we're onboarding. There's a whole bunch of people in our space that have one of those two things. So it might be actually a really beautiful thing if you guys could maybe help me flesh that graphic out. So I'm seeing a lot of enthusiasm from LBS and maybe even Ivo here. So maybe we could have a little thing that could maybe allow me to complete and get feedback on that, so that maybe that could just be a consideration as we're doing onboarding things. It just popped up in my head, sorry to interrupt, but if anybody would be willing to do that, please DM me about that.
Yeah, and I will also invite other issues to that conversation, since they also have helped on the process of onboarding people, and I'm pretty sure they have stumbled upon these cases and stuff. So,
yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Lee.
So total praise, all of the credit of this goes to Caesar. I just want to raise awareness to this. And so he was questioning if we wanted input from people that have been going already to the community calls, or from people that maybe haven't been that active, have been to just a few, but would like to see something different happening. So yeah, there's some questions here that maybe I would put it differently, but I didn't feel like influencing the direction of this before I pass along to more people, and would love to hear feedback first, actually, from people that have joined recently and have more like fresh eyes over it, or people that are not stewards who have been to the community calls, because I feel like stewards and community calls are somehow comfortable in that structure, and it's harder to see what we're missing. Or even stewards that don't present a working group, like Nate, I would be helpful to have your feedback too. So yeah, this is what you put up. So what is your current level of satisfaction? Which elements of the community calls you like, dislike? Are you likely to participate in more calls? Please indicate your satisfaction to each one of these working groups. And then maybe we'll have like more data points on understanding if there is one specific thing that is working best or another. And then some descriptive questions of like, what would you like to see more? Wouldn't you like to see? What is your best takeaway? So I thought it was really cool, and this will bring some good insights for us.
Thank you, Leary. The only thing I will add is the question of, did we miss something? Because I feel that's the only thing I see missing in that questionnaire, is that question, if we missed something, like, or whatever. And shall we do 1 minute each one to the people who are not stewards? So we pass it on to provide feedback if you have feedback to provide, or you go to the document to provide feedback also, I think. No?
Yeah, I think that would be better, actually, just to give people time to read it, because maybe there's something there already. So if if everyone here could just take like 2 minutes after this call to take a look at this, that would be incredibly helpful.
So the document is on the agenda. I think, do you drop it on the Communitas working group also, just for quick access, maybe?
I'll do that.
Thank you. And then we have the feedback on the decision-making visuals. We can do the same, just a brief explanation, and then people can provide feedback async.
Yep. Just. Oh, he just wrote there. Yeah, sure. So really quickly, also this is something we won't have time, for feedback right now, I think, but just so you guys, can you access this link I put in there? Could someone check? Because maybe I need to give permission, I'm not sure.
It worked for me.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Yes.
So it's this frame 5 here. All of the other ones are just past iterations. So this is the final place we are. There's just a couple of things missing still from this arrows, but I think it's way easier to understand already. And just a quick overview. So advice process as kind of like the first step. So intuitively, it's the first place you look at in the chart. And having 3 types of advice process, and then each one with a small small instruction of what to do. And then from here, you can go to all these other voting types. And then from token log, you go to the runoff. So won't explain much, just want you guys to see if this is comprehensible as is. And we'll probably change a little bit like the text of them too. But we're mostly looking into the visual structure now.
Sorry, where is the Figma link?
In the agenda. I'll put it also in the chat.
I might have been responding to the first thing that you were saying about whether or not I could access that.
I had access to it, so I think everyone should be able to access it. So for giving context for people who join later, this is just a visualization for the decision-making process that we have in the DEC. So it's easier for everyone to understand how we make decisions in DEC, what kind of type of proposal they have to submit, depending on what kind of decision-making they're going to do. So yeah, Livy is requesting feedback for us regarding this, since we deal with a lot of people who we sort of send messages away to our people who's going to make decisions, hatchers and so on. So yeah, this is a little bit of reasoning of this. We are on the top of the hour. Is there something, Livy, you would like to add to finish?
Just please, on your time, take a look and reach out to me.
Hey, just a quick question. What's the best way, for those of us who are new to Figma, what's the best way to provide feedback? Are there ways to just put notes in there, or should we just send that separately? Okay.
You can put comments straight in there. If you click here on this, you see my screen on add comment on top here.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And then you can just click wherever, and then you can write. It would be helpful to put your name beside it, just so if I need to get clarification.
I think we can't add comments, like only the authors or owners who have like access to the document could edit access to the document, could add comments.
Really? You tried it now and it didn't work?
I sent a request to edit so that I could put in some notes.
Okay. feel free to just write to me too or in the Babcock chat.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Dan, sorry.
I was just gonna say I have to jump, and I'm recording,
Yes.
so I'm gonna say bye.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's call. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for your collaborations, participations, inputs, and feedback. And I look forward to see you next Monday. See you in the text channel. Take care, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.